Next up at UFC 268, we have the main event of the evening. We have Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington 2, the rematch. Kamaru Usman 19-1 in his career, 5-0 in his last 5. Colby Covington 16-2, 4-1 in his last 5, with that loss coming at the hands of Kamaru Usman. And I'm legit excited for this main event. Their first fight was fantastic, and I don't see this one being any different. If you're looking at Tapology and you'll see, Kamaru won the first round by TKO in the 5th, that doesn't tell the whole story. It was a competitive fight, and Jacob and I talked about this on the live stream. Jacob actually felt that Colby was winning that fight, and if it went to the judges' scorecards, he may have taken that decision.
Well, and I'll tell you, I checked the judges' scorecards because they are available. Yeah. So one judge had it 3-1 Kamaru going into the 5th. One judge had it 2-2, and one judge had it 3-1 Colby. So, and that was Sal Diamato had it 3-1 Colby. So,
yeah. So it was straight up. That entire fight was coming down to the 5th round, no matter what. It was a very competitive fight. So do not just look at Sherdog or look at Tapology and let the result tell you what happened, because that is not what happened. And it was an awesome fight. It was a great back and forth war. Rewatch it. I am shocked that these odds are so wide. While I agree Kamaru should be the favorite, especially his body of work since that fight has been incredible, 3-1 seems wide, and I think they're just basing it off the result and not necessarily the complete picture of that fight. With that being said, this is a great matchup with two high-level wrestlers that don't necessarily need to use their wrestling in every single fight. They didn't use it at all in their first fight. I've doubted Kamaru in the past, but that is getting harder and harder to do. He is massive for the weight class, and he has no cardio issues, which is shocking considering how big he is. He's an accomplished wrestler, but doesn't need to use it. His striking is technical, and we saw that in his knockout over Masvidal that he has power now. We've seen him come back after getting dropped against Burns. We've seen him out wrestle his opponents. We've seen him in wars. We've seen him knock people out. At this point, Kamaru is incredibly dangerous, and we are not far off from discussing if he is the best to ever do it at that weight class. Colby is also a great wrestler that hasn't needed his wrestling in all of his fights. He sets a high pace. He's a high volume guy that comes forward with punches in bunches and doesn't let you settle into any sort of rhythm. He did that in the first fight, and he had success with it. Wrestling wise, he's actually technically the more accomplished wrestler between the two. But it's hard to say who would actually win in a straight up wrestling match. The quick story that Dan told us about Colby. So as you know, Dan, who's on the show, he's not here now because he's just got back from Abu Dhabi after flying out there for Glover's fight. He was Colby's training partner for years. And he said that before the Damian Maia fight, UFC was like, listen, Colby, you're great. You've got a bunch of wins, but you're boring as hell, and we're going to cut you win or lose. Sorry, this is your last fight. We're not renewing your contract. So that's when Colby invented that heel persona. That's when he became, just saying horrible things about everybody, everywhere, including his teammates, which caused issues. But so that heel persona, that was developed literally to keep his job. He's very open about that. He talks about it. If you watch that Brendan Schaub food truck interview YouTube thing, he talks about it. He talks about, yeah, I made it up. That's not who I am. And I have family members that hate me for this act that I'm putting on that pays the bills. So I don't know. I just found that really interesting. But either way, Colby sets a nasty pace. He is in your face. He never lets you settle in. He does not have any power whatsoever, but he makes up for it with just sheer volume and pace and grit. Listen, this is a hard fight to pick. I don't care what these odds say. If you look at their last fight, and as Jacob said, if it went to the scorecards, it would have been a very interesting decision, and this division could look entirely different right now. The reality is that these guys have very similar styles, but Kamaru has been busier. He's had the tougher fights. He's developed knockout power, which Colby does not have. Colby cannot win by stoppage here. His only path would be a very busy decision to avoid the big power. Kamaru is a knockout threat and could win a decision. I got to go with Usman here. Usman's the pick to win the rematch, but these odds are far too wide. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. The odds are wide. You mentioned how I felt about the first fight. I honestly thought it was 3-1 Colby. Obviously, very, very close. One judge saw it my way, another judge saw it the complete opposite way. The other judge was right in the middle. In my mind, I thought, Colby was winning that fight 3-1 just off of volume. My biggest thing here, and the only thing that I have in my notes for this fight, is I feel like Colby has to trust his cardio. And by that, I mean he's got to stay in Usman's face. He can't go for those power shots. A lot of times he was getting caught by Usman's power when Colby was trying to load up on shots. I think a lot of that was kind of the emotion of the fight. There was a lot of stuff leading up to the fight. I think he put a little too much power behind those fights. I think he just needs to trust his cardio. Move forward, stay, boom, 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 boom. Mix in some takedowns. You might not get the takedowns, but throw Usman against the cage, right? We haven't seen Usman. He doesn't have cardio issues, right? He's going to be there in the 5th round no matter what. But you can take a little bit of his pop away, a little bit of that pop of his jab away if you pressure him, right? Put him against the fence, threaten those takedowns. And Colby's a good enough wrestler where maybe he can grab an angle. Maybe he can get a takedown and kind of work him on the ground, right? So I want Colby to trust his cardio and just go full forward. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Throw some shots. Even if it's just a feint, you come back up, boom, boom, boom. Maybe it's you just grind them on against the fence for 30 seconds. Trust your cardio. You're going to have better cardio. You know how hard you've been working. Pressure, 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 volume, 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 and win just a nasty, nasty, ugly fight and get that title. So I think Usman probably is the pick. He's proven it before that he's tough. He can come back. He can win fights any way that he wants to. I'm going Colby. I just feel like Colby's going to come in. He's going to make the adjustments. I think there's more wrestling. I don't think Usman wants to wrestle. I think he can, but I think Colby's going to be the offensive wrestler in this fight. I think he's going to use his volume. I think he's going to, he's not going to get in those little pocket punches that he's getting caught with at that last fight. He's in and out. He's going to trust his cardio, and I think Colby wins a razor thin decision. Because I agree, I don't think he's going to put Usman away. I don't think he's going to get on top of him and mount him and TKO him. He doesn't have the power to one-shot him. He's going to have to win an ugly decision. I think he's going to barely squeak that out. So I like Colby. I actually have a parlay I'm going to play with Colby and Chandler. I probably have to pick one or the other for my DraftKings because they're kind of both the same amount. It's probably going to be Chandler, honestly. But Colby at $6,900.
Why would you take Chandler in a 3-round fight instead of Colby in a 5-round fight in DraftKings?
Because I like the takedowns with
5 points each.
Chandler. I think it was 5 points each, and I think he's got an ability to stop Gagey with TKOs with the takedowns. Where Colby, he's not gonna stop him. He get 1,000,000 points with strikes, but it's 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. It's going to take a lot to add up. And you saw him get dropped versus Usman too. Usman with that power, he's a bigger threat to me than obviously Gagey's a threat too. But that's how I feel to answer that question. But I like Colby in this matchup.
Yeah, so we're split, but I definitely, listen, I just can't doubt Kamaru Usman anymore. I was hoping Masvidal. I picked Masvidal to win their last fight because I thought, Masvidal just had the striking advantage and everything else, and he had his moments in the first fight, which was short notice, and then Usman came out and just took his head off, and it just, Usman survived being dropped by Burns. That showed me something. It's just Usman was in the war against Colby the first time. That showed me. So Usman's the real deal at this point. Like him or not, he is unlikable at times. You feel like his personality is fake. But I will say the last 6 months or so, he does seem to be a little more real. He seems to be a little more authentic, less of a character.
And to just to piggyback off that point, in the embedded, he talks about Colby, and it was a complete 180. He was like, listen, I know what he's doing is this. He's a great fighter. We had a great fight. I respect him as a fighter. So that is like, he went to another level on that because that was real personal stuff. And now he's starting to realize, listen, it's all for a show. He's a great fighter. We had a great war. We're going to have another great fight, So that tells you that piggybacks off that kind of that maturity of growing as a champion.
Yeah. So I'm going with Usman here. He's the pick. $9,300. I'm going to spend it. Listen, even if Colby wins, it's a decision. He's not going to stop Usman. So I'm going to get 5 rounds out of Kamaru. And if it's anything like his last few fights, he should be worth the money. And Monkey Knife fight, I'm going to say more and more, but 157 is freaking high. And I have the note here. Hold on 1 second. Last time, it was 175 to 143. So I guess I got to go more and more. So in their last fight, Kamaru Usman landed 175 strikes in 4 and a half rounds or whatever. And Colby Covington landed 143. So 5 rounds, you got to go more and more. I'm going to play that before that moves, honestly. wewantpicks.com/MKF. Deposit money. If you give them 100, they'll give you 100. Take the free 100, bet it. I'm going to do them more and more as soon as we're done filming, because that one will probably move. And just based off their last fight, 175 and 143, they should get there. What do you think?
I agree. More and more.
All right. Well, that's it. Any last words?
Nope.
Okay. Don't forget, go to wewantpicks.com/bets and make a deposit. We have 3 different betting partners to work with. Grab one, jump in, make a deposit, reach out, let me know after you did, and I will send you $50, however you want it, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. All I need from you is your username, screenshot of deposit. I'll get you paid. Thank you very much for the watch. Like, subscribe, do all the things, and claim your free money.